Welcome back everyone to another real Gwent game. In this video we're actually going to do a twofer. So 2 games for the price of 1. So it's a best of 2, which doesn't make sense, but it's all we had time for. I'm going to play Scoia'tael in these 2 games, and my opponent is going to play Northern Realms. So the reason we're doing 2 games is because the Scoia'tael, we're not quite sure what we're going to do with this deck yet. So for the first game we just threw a deck together and we're going to see how it plays, and then we're going to analyse its weaknesses that it struggled against and improve the deck for the second game against Northern Realms. So one thing you might have noticed at the beginning with, I pointed at my opponent, and that's not just a way of insulting him. It is because of the Scoia'tael deck ability. I get to choose who goes first, and so I choose my opponent to go first, so hopefully he will have 1 less card. Doesn't really matter, as soon as the spy gets played, that deck effect I feel is mostly negated. But we have begun with the 1 strength lead from me. In the lead. Oh wait, no, I've lost it. Okay. So Scoai'tael actually have no spies of their own. They only have the neutral one. So I am basically going to be stealing his spies. And I have chosen... I felt it was quite difficult to choose the leader ability of Scoai'tael. We've got 4 leader abilities. One is to be able to play a Biting Frost from my deck. That way, if I had a Biting Frost in my hand, I could throw it away and pick another card out at the start of the game in my opening hand. But that's the one I've chosen. It does play a little weird. I think having a card which says play a Biting Frost or play a Torrential Rain, your opponent knows that you've got one up your sleeve then. He knows you're going to play it. And so I've obviously put down some melee, so he's probably going to think that I'm not going to play a Biting Frost now because I've got a full row full of melee at the moment. But that's we'll see how that goes. Okay, so with that opening hand, I do believe as an opponent you would surely know that I'm not going to play a Biting Frost now. That's just a silly move from me, so my leader ability is out of the question. So he's going to proceed to start using some of his melee people because he knows they're pretty much safe. So Scoia'tael do have the ability, they have a lot of agile units, which means they can place it on the melee row or the ranged row. The problem with that is you don't know if they've got a weather effect until, you know, at least halfway into the game. They're not going to play it at the very early part of the round. Wow, we had three commandos. Now I'm going to obviously try and figure out if he had those in his opening hand. You've got to make sure they shuffle their decks. If Northern Realms don't shuffle properly, then it's bad for you. So this is why you let the opponent shuffle your deck. Like in most major card tournaments, you shuffle them yourself and then your opponent shuffles them to stop any dodginess. Now monster decks are hindered by not shuffling properly. So Northern Realms not shuffling is good because they get loads of bonded people. But monster decks, muster ability, if you get 3 vampires right next to each other because you didn't shuffle properly, that's a problem. So again, I've placed down an early Commander's Horn. This was recorded quite a while ago, so I've actually forgotten what my strategy is here, so we'll see. But this kind of indicates that I'm not, again, going to use my Biting Frost. Oh, I've taken that gem off from previous, I forgot to take it off. Okay, the Smuggler's there, muster ability, very good. 5 strength. And I've got a Commander's Horn, so they're each going to be 10 strength, which is really nice. Really nice. So that's 30 strength. That's pretty good. Weak to Scorch. There is the Scorch. Okay, so I don't know about that. That would have been difficult to avoid. At least I've made him use it. I've got some cards left. He's got more. Now I have used my Biting Frost. Now earlier I did state that would be a silly move to do. I do have a Clear Weather. We're basically just using it to use a turn at the minute because I don't want to place too much down. And wow! 30 strength, they're two very strong cards in competitive play. If you get both of them, that's 30 strength easily, and the Biting Frost is useless. Okay, so I'm using the Agile ability there, using it to good effect. I've got Biting Frost and placing it on the middle row. Now in this particular scenario, I could have placed that Agile person on the front row. Now doing that would seem like an absolutely absurd idea. I know that I've got a Clear Weather. This is where the opponent would figure out that I have got a Clear Weather. So it might make him play differently. Because placing it on the front row, he'd get Commander's Horn. There's some questionable tactics from me. I don't think I'm doing particularly smart plays here. This isn't the first time. Is it the first time? Might be the second time playing with Scoia'tael. It's definitely a week after playing the previous one, so I'm not entirely sure. Okay, so choosing front row with that Agile and buffing up. Okay, that might be that explains it. I think it just explains it a little bit. It would have still been better on the front row, and I've won that round. Very nice. I think it used all my cards though. I don't think I have many left. So this is very problematic. Okay, Torrential Rain. That's just to stop any siege. I know I don't have any siege. Oh, I do. I have a siege now. It doesn't matter. 1 strength is good. He's drawing 2 more cards. I think at this point, I decide that I'm going to quit. I don't think in the real Gwent game, in The Witcher 3, there's a way to forfeit, but sometimes it just seems so bleak. There's not any chance. I mean, what do I have? A Clear Weather and a Scorch. Scorch would have been very good, but I don't have the cards. I'm outnumbered. Look at his. He's got Clear Weather. What's that? 3 catapults? Yennefer of Vengerberg, Commander's Horn, and the Dragon. Wow. And his leader ability. That was well out of my depth there. So, what we actually plan to do now is we discussed for a while the tactics of that particular game. Obviously, the smugglers being lost to 1 Scorch is a very devastating thing. That'll be hard to protect, I think. 10 strength. You'd have to have the opponent have some catapults which are Commander's Horned to protect him from using a Scorch of yourself. So what we did then is we separated the deck into loads of different areas. Heroes, weather abilities, special cards, that sort of stuff. And we tried to reconstruct the deck on a premise of weather effects, heroes, and agile units only. Okay, because that is basically the strength of Scoia'tael. So what I did, the plan for this particular deck now is so many weather effects, like 3 of each type. Okay, really weather down. Obviously, you change that to your deck. Monster decks, you wouldn't take as many ranged ones. Fog, probably. But I chose 3 of every weather effect, like maybe 1 decoy, a Scorch, and such. And everything else in my deck is either an agile one or a hero. And the way we're going to play this is I'm going to place down weathers to really just minimize whatever the opponent can do, and switch my agile based on that, and place my heroes down. So in this game, I've opted for the leader ability to draw one card at the beginning of the game. Now, that's useful. Again, I think it gets negated if the opponent has spies, because then you really don't get a lead in cards at all. But it's always nice, and I didn't think the Biting Frost one worked very well at all. Because he knew I had it, he was waiting all the time. That's a very good card. 10 strength, and it buffs the row. But yeah, so her leader abilities are all a little, I don't know, iffy, I think. You've got one that buffs your ranged row, which is nice. So I took no clear weathers in this particular deck, out of interest, and one Commander's Horn. I think because they wouldn't be very useful for hero cards, I definitely reduced the amount of Commander's Horns I took. Okay, so I seem to be pumping them onto the front row. If he's got a Biting Frost, it's going to be painful. This is the kind of aspect I was talking about. I'm putting him on the front row, but he could have a Biting Frost. He's not going to play them until possibly the last turn that he's going to play, because he doesn't want to reveal that he's got a weather card. But he scorched him anyway. Oh, I've given up. And that is probably exactly what he was planning to do. He's placing down siege equipment, even though it's torrential rained. And because he's placing more down, you've got to know he's going to have a clear weather now. Can't do anything about that. I don't know if I could have done anything about that anyway. But I wasn't prepared to give up more cards. So you may notice in this game 100% less wobbly camera. That's our new technique, 100% less wobbly camera. And we're actually playing in the middle of the table now, so we've got a little bit more space. It's definitely harder to see where the cards are. As you can see, some on the left are being clicked off. Not that important, it's only a deck and discard pile, but still. Okay, so I made a little mistake of playing Yennefer of Vengerberg and not actually placing the card down straight away. We fixed that right now, so it wasn't actually an issue at all. So I'm placing one card down for Yennefer and one down for the new medic that I just played. But that is something which the game does it automatically, but you guys have to think about removing your life gems, picking things out of your discard pile, playing them immediately, stuff like that. I assume there's a melee person coming. Just because I move those cards back, the opponent will know I chose to put a melee guy down. That's one of those subtle hints. You know, picking up your discard pile. Oh, he's got a medic. Oh, you've moving your cards to the right. Oh, he's probably got a commander's horn then. If you move your cards back a bit, oh, he's probably got a melee person then, isn't it? These little movements. The smuggler's not having a good day. Always getting caught by the cops. I look like I've definitely got a medic in my hand. That's what I was just talking about. He now knows I've got a medic in my hand. Most likely, unless I'm bluffing or whatever. Unless if I choose not to play one. I didn't. But okay, another. So he's done Biting Frost. I haven't got any heroes on the front row. But I've got 3 in the middle row. Full heroes. Oh, he's passed. Alright, cool. I have won this particular round, so we're on the last round now. Okay, so I play a Biting Frost. I know I've got no melee in my hand, so it's basically just about wasting a turn. He plays a Commander's Horn. I place a Commander's Horn that does nothing. Also, just to waste a turn. I know I've got a lot of range in my hand, so I'm going to place it anyway in the end. So I might as well place it first, see what else he's got. I think I got lucky with the Biting Frost there. And I'm about to do a really interesting play. So I used a 0 strength medic to pull out a 0 strength medic. And then I'm going to pull out my 10 strength line buffer. Okay, really, because then the 0 strength actually get boosted to 1 strength each. Commander's Horn boosts them to 2 strength each. So, you know, I've got an extra 2 strength from just chaining the medics, which is it's not much, but it might be enough to win me the game. In fact, it has won me the game. But I didn't need to do it. But I think it was still a good play. He had a Biting Frost, which was useless. And he really didn't leave much else for himself, did he? He didn't have many cards at all in the end there. Which is surprising. So, overall, I really like that Scoia'tael deck. The reconstructed one. All heroes. Weather effects. You know, there's a couple of medics in there, a couple of non-things, but for the most part, it's mostly heroes, weathers, and agile people. I'm super excited to play that again. I can't wait to play that deck again, even though I don't really like Scoia'tael. They're like my least favourite deck, because I don't think they're the least strongest deck, I think. But I really like that, and that could become very effective, providing you've got to get the right weather effects. That's why I've stuck them all in. I did get a lot of spies used though, so it might still not be effective against Nilfgaard and stuff like that. Yeah, anyway, thanks for watching everyone. I will see you again probably next week. Actually, my friend's going on holiday, so we'll have to see. I'll probably do the guides and my discussion video next week, because we won't have a gameplay video for then. Yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you appreciate it. I appreciate you watching. Thanks, guys.